Oh, we got some screaming fans out there, but listen. Oh, wait, hold on.
Their love was forbidden, yet inevitable. A young Michael Jackson wasn't only inspired by Diana Ross's talent, but was also captivated by her charm. He adored her beauty, her elegance, and he never hid it from the world. But for decades, the truth behind their bond stayed locked away. Until now. Now, at 81, Diana Ross has finally broken her silence. What did she confess about her secret connection with the king of pop? And why reveal it after all these years? Join us as we finally unveil what Diana Ross revealed about her secret relationship with Michael Jackson. The bond that defied labels. Diana Ross was 14 years older than Michael Jackson, yet she became the deepest love of his life. To him, she was everything at once: his lover, his mother, his mentor, his closest friend, and the dream woman who always slipped just out of reach. Their bond was quite complicated and filled with emotions that Michael carried for the rest of his life. Their story together began in 1969, when the Jackson 5 signed with Motown. At the time, Motown's powerful founder, Berry Gordy, was captivated by young Michael, whose voice and moves reminded him of both James Brown and Sammy Davis Jr. Diana Ross, who had been romantically linked to Gordy and had a daughter with him out of wedlock, was quickly placed at the center of Michael's story. For publicity, Gordy decided to credit Diana with discovering the Jackson 5, though in truth it was Gladys Knight and Suzanne DePass who first spotted their talent. Even Michael's age was altered for the cameras. Motown presented him as 9 years old, when in fact he was already 11. Despite the staged narrative, Michael's personal connection with Diana was very real. He moved into her home in 1969, living with her for a year until his family left their small house in Gary, Indiana, and settled in Encino, California in 1971. During that time, Michael adored Diana with childlike devotion. He called her Mama, but he also teasingly called her his girlfriend. His mother, Katherine Jackson, even wrote in her memoir that her son was utterly enchanted by Diana. So much so that when Diana landed the role of Dorothy in The Wiz, Michael desperately wanted to join the cast just to be close to her. Around the house, he would tease his sisters LaToya and Janet by saying, "You're not pretty until you start looking like Diana." Michael's feelings for her only deepened as he grew older. He believed she was the standard of what every woman should look like. She became his mentor in the music world, and a second mother who guided him during his early rise to fame. But beyond idolizing her, Michael was secretly attracted to her. Marrying Michael would have sparked a scandal and potentially damaged her career at the height of her fame, but the attraction between them was inevitable. However, their age difference aside, another major factor drew them apart, and they had no power over it. What was strong enough to restrain two people from embracing what they really felt for each other? The life that changed. Everything. Diana's story has never been a tale of purity. Motown's golden girl was scarred early, criticized by Berry Gordy for her weight and appearance until her confidence cracked. Depression and alcohol followed, and one drunken performance gave him the excuse to replace her with Cindy Birdsong without hesitation. Still, Gordy couldn't let go, and neither could Diana. Their affair was messy, intoxicating, and public enough to spark whispers of favoritism. She didn't care. To her, it was love, and love was worth the burn. Since her very first taste of love was toxic, Diana Ross believed happily ever after was simply a fairy tale. Shockingly, Gordy wasn't the only man Diana was seeing at that time. She was also involved with Eddie Kendricks, sneaking into his home even after he married. Their affair was so heated that the label stepped in, terrified of reputational fallout and Gordy's jealousy. Around the same time, Diana seduced famed photographer Francesco Scavullo. Gay or not, he fell under her spell. Her 5-year romance with Gordy ended in 1970 when Diana discovered he had other women hidden in the shadows. No longer a desperate starlet, she walked. Hollywood's playboy Warren Beatty filled the gap briefly. Another tabloid explosion. another man Diana refused to submit to. Then came Robert Ellis Silberstein, a wealthy calm after decades of chaos. Their whirlwind marriage looked perfect, especially with Diana holding baby Rhonda for glossy magazine covers. But it was all smoke. Rhonda was Gordy's child, and everyone in that triangle knew the truth. Robert smiled for the cameras anyway, playing the loyal husband in a family portrait painted with lies. And even then, Diana wasn't done breaking rules. In a 2023 bombshell, Smokey Robinson admitted to a secret affair with her during her marriage, betraying both his wife, Claudette, and his friendship with Diana's inner circle. Through all the betrayals and scandals, one bond stood apart: Michael. Where others saw a superstar, Diana saw a trembling boy desperate for love. She coached him in hotel rooms, taught him how to breathe through nerves, and listened to his nervous whispers. What they shared was never fully named, because if it had been, the world would have torn them apart. While fans held on to speculations about Michael and Diana's relationship, a particular event got more people talking and asking questions. What event was this, and what exactly happened? What happened during The Wiz? In 1977, Michael Jackson stepped into New York City with Diana Ross to film The Wiz. Michael was just 19 years old, shy but glowing with talent, while Diana was already a glamorous superstar. Their secret relationship became one of the most fascinating stories in entertainment history. During the filming, something happened that caught everyone's attention. Diana Ross was invited to Michael's apartment, and according to one of her assistants, she didn't just visit, she stayed the night. The next morning, when the film crew couldn't reach either of them, the assistant eventually tracked them down by phone and discovered they were together in Michael's place. The revelation shocked him because it seemed Diana had spent the night with the young pop star. Later, Diana was overheard chatting with some girlfriends, and with a playful laugh, she insisted that one thing was certain: Michael was definitely not gay. When the curious assistant later pressed Michael about what had gone on, the singer simply said, "You'd have to ask her." When he asked Diana, she cleverly responded, "You'll have to ask Michael." Their answers only deepened the mystery. For Michael, Diana was more than a friend. She was a goddess in his eyes. He carried a treasured photograph of the two of them wherever he went, and even kept a special room in his house filled with things devoted to her. She was his mentor, his guide, and his first true love. Michael himself admitted years later that he fell deeply in love with Diana, though over time their closeness transformed into a lasting friendship. Still, he confessed that when he heard she was getting married, it hurt. He wanted her to be happy, but inside he felt a sting of jealousy because part of him always loved her and always would. Other people close to Michael hinted at secret romantic encounters in his life. Producer David Guest once shared that Michael told him about being on a movie set where one leading lady invited him to her room, and things turned unexpectedly physical. Frank DeLeo, another insider, claimed he knew of some stars Michael had been with, but promised to take those names to his grave. By the time Michael turned 24, he was no longer just a shy boy under someone else's control. He proudly said he had finally taken charge of his life and career. He was now the one paying people and giving directions. At the same time, there was a new woman he cared for, and he felt happier than ever. Michael dreamed of creating a beautiful home for his beloved mother, where he planned to stay until marriage, after which he even dreamed of moving to Switzerland. Yet, despite his growing independence, Diana Ross always remained at the center of his heart as the woman who slipped away. While he did not react publicly, he communicated his pain through a song for Diana. What was his message? The confession he couldn't take back. The song Dirty Diana has long been debated, but many insiders believe it was never about groupies at all. It was about Diana. In the mid-80s, she reportedly accepted his ring and agreed to marry him. Fans even spotted the ring on her finger at the famous Motown 25 special, and again at the American Music Awards of 1984. That night was unforgettable, because it was the first time Diana kissed Michael on the lips in public. Cupping his face tenderly, as if to say, "This is real." Many believe she was testing how the world would react to their romance. When they told Michael's mother, Catherine Jackson, the response was explosive. Catherine allegedly called Diana too old for her son, saying she was corrupting him. She even went to the press, sparking headlines that mocked Diana as a cradle robber. The media hounded her with cruel jokes about her age. Feeling cornered and pressured, Diana fled from the situation and married the wealthy Norwegian businessman Arne Næss, leaving Michael shattered. His heartbreak turned into fury. He had spent years trying to win her, showering her with extravagant gifts and unconditional devotion, only to be abandoned. That pain bled into his music. Michael wrote song after song about love and betrayal. But Dirty Diana was the sharpest dagger. Unlike his softer heartbreak ballads, this one was written with spite. He wanted Diana to feel the sting of rejection that he had endured. The lyric, "She likes the boys in the band," reflected his anger over her history of dating musicians like Lionel Richie, Barry Gibb, and Gene Simmons, even during times she was supposedly tied to Michael. The rivalry with Simmons became especially bitter after Diana allegedly whispered Michael's name while with Gene, igniting a feud that lasted for life. Michael used Dirty Diana to paint her as a woman who chased fame above love, someone who would destroy his relationships with jealousy whenever he tried to move on. From Madonna to Liz Taylor to Brooke Shields, Diana would appear, flirt with Michael, and pull him back in. Audiences saw this play out on stage, where she clung to him during award shows, blew kisses from the stage, and even forgot her lines while openly flirting with him. The original version of the song was far harsher, almost directly calling her promiscuous. Producer Quincy Jones was horrified, begging Michael to tone it down. He warned that everyone would know it was about Diana, and urged him to disguise it as a song about groupies. Michael reluctantly agreed, revising the second verse to sound less personal. Still, Diana recognized herself in the lyrics. She was furious at first, giving Michael the cold shoulder. Later, when their friendship rekindled, she even joked about it and definitely used her own version of the song as an introduction to her show. Proof that she understood the message. Beneath the disguise of groupie culture, the truth of Dirty Diana was Michael's raw anger at the woman he loved most. The song carried his double meanings, his heartbreak, and his revenge. Still, Michael's devotion never faded. On his History album, he even left a special note to Diana, a tribute to the woman he considered the ultimate muse. What was his message? Whispers. Between the notes. In a 1982 interview with Ebony, Michael shocked the journalist by admitting that the most important woman in his life was Diana Ross. When asked if he meant like a sister, Michael shook his head. He wanted to marry her. He didn't care about their age gap. "What does age have to do with it?" he asked. To him, Diana wasn't older. She was timeless. She was love itself. By 1983, Michael was even more open. He described Diana as one of his best friends, the person he trusted with his most private secrets. In 1984, when asked about his personal life, Michael admitted he was in love and that someone special was in his life. He never said her name directly in that interview, but later, in other moments, he made it clear it was Diana. That same year, he told reporters, "She's everything you could wish for." But Michael's love went beyond words. He built a shrine for Diana in his home, a secret room filled with photos of her from every stage of her career, surrounded by hundreds of candles burning day and night. Friends who saw it were speechless. It wasn't just admiration, it was obsession, a devotion that showed how deeply he tied his life to hers. When Diana eventually married another man, Michael wrote in his autobiography, Moonwalk, about how difficult it was. He wanted her to be happy, but behind his smile was jealousy and heartbreak. He admitted he had always loved Diana and always will. Even as he tried to move on, dating people like Tatum O'Neal, he still confessed that Diana was his first real love. His music reflected this truth. Songs like "Remember the Time" were written with Diana in mind. Jermaine Jackson later revealed that this track was Michael's way of capturing the love that got away. And yet, despite her choosing other men, Diana never fully left his life. She sat on his lap at award shows, shared phone calls late into the night, and always seemed to circle back when he needed comfort. Even at the height of his fame, Michael's will revealed the depth of his loyalty. In 2002, he named Diana Ross as the guardian of his children if anything ever happened to his mother. It was the ultimate sign of trust. Proof that he wanted Diana tied to his family forever. All through this confession, Diana Ross kept it all to herself, probably scared of the public's reaction to the bond she shared with a man way younger than she is. But now, at 81, she has nothing left to lose. What did she reveal? The woman who finally spoke. Diana Ross described herself as Michael's sanctuary. She gave his isolation a name: belonging. At 81, the usually silent Ross finally broke down her walls, describing an emotional bond so deep it blurred every line between family, lover, and muse. Once scared to admit it, she hid the truth about their bond in the dark. But when she stepped back into the spotlight, she carried that truth with her. Her re-emergence in 2025 felt less like a comeback and more like a quiet reclaiming. When she stepped onto the Met Gala red carpet that spring evening in New York, it was a statement. At 81, she moved with the calm confidence of someone who no longer needed to prove anything. Her gown, breathtaking in its design, flowed behind her with an 18-foot train embroidered with the names of her children and grandchildren, each letter hand-stitched like a love letter in silk. It wasn't just an outfit, it was a story, one that spanned decades of fame, family, and resilience. Few knew that it was her youngest son, Evan, who urged her to attend. He reminded her not only of what she meant to the world, but also of what she still meant to them, to her family, her audience, and her legacy. She hesitated at first, caught between the demands of her ongoing world tour and the pull of privacy. But eventually, love won. And as she stood beneath the flash of cameras that night, what shone brightest wasn't the couture, but the message stitched into every inch of that fabric. That she had built something beautiful, something lasting, not just on stages, but in the hearts of her family. And yet, amid all the celebration and applause, she didn't shy away from the shadows that shaped the story. In rare conversations that followed, low-lit interviews, and quiet reflections, she opened up about Michael's battles, the media frenzy, the whispers, the transformation that left him barely recognizable to those who'd known him best. But she never pitied him. She spoke of his pain with grace, never judgment. "He wasn't broken," she said once, her voice low and steady. "He was beautiful, just burdened." She didn't speak to fix the record. She wasn't there to defend. She simply wanted people to see what had always been there, the person behind the myth, the boy she had once guided, the man she quietly grieved. "He was Michael," she said, not a ghost, not a headline, just Michael. And he was mine, in a way I never needed to explain. And then, in perhaps her most vulnerable admission, Diana allowed the world to hear words she had often kept close to her heart. "But I was crazy about Michael, and I loved him a lot. He was my inspiration. He was a very gentle and wonderful human being, one of the special ones in this universe. And I don't even know if he knew how special he was. His aura is only about love." In those words, the silence of years finally broke. What do you think of the relationship between Diana Ross and Michael Jackson? If Michael were here today, would people at last recognize their relationship for what it truly was? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.